great replies on the 2 videos about my Q&A, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering I don't get a lot of views, maybe 30 or 40, and then gradually I'll get some others, I'm pleased with that. Many of the questions are not a single brief sentence answer. Good questions. A lot of thought-provoking questions. I think some of them I still haven't quite figured out what I'm going to say. I know I was going to put this up a week ago. The first one that replied was Mike in Florida, also known as KB1NYD on YouTube. He had 3 questions. The first one, he wants to know how old I am. You could think that would be a simple answer, just to blurt out a number, but it's not, because I don't celebrate birthdays, and I haven't for many years. So the long answer is, last June, I celebrated the 38th anniversary of my 19th birthday. So I stayed a teenager forever. In human years, 57. So coming up around now, I'm 57 and a half. I'm going to answer question 3 that Mike had before question 2, because question 2 is going to take a little more time. Question 3 was, you ever been to any country other than Canada or the United States? Yes, I have, Mike. Oh, you wanted to know which one, maybe? I'm not well-traveled outside Canada and the U.S. Back in 1972, we went on a family holiday. I have 2 older sisters, so it was my older sisters, or my sisters and I, and my mom and dad. And we drove with our travel trailer down to California to go to Disneyland. So we went down to Anaheim, California, and then did some sightseeing there, visited my aunt and uncle in Grants Pass, Oregon, and my cousins in Santa Barbara, California. So we drove down to the Mexico-U.S. border, parked on the American side, and walked across into Tijuana. So Mexico is the only place I've been, and it was only for a few hours. I was 12 years old at the time. His third question was, is there something that I wish I had done but never did? Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, what was the one thing you wish you had done but never did? Well, this one made me really think. And I'm still thinking about it. How do I answer that? There are a lot of things I wish I did better, such as applying myself more in school, because I never really tried too hard in school. I just didn't. I was a daydreamer and a doodler, so I would doodle in the books and the teachers would get upset. That's one of the things I wish I'd done. Another one is I wish I had gone to university right out of high school. I didn't have the grades because I wasn't applying myself, but my IQ was good, and I was I was able to do the work if I wanted to, but if it didn't really grab me. Almost like an artist mentality, I guess. You know how artists are kind of a little bit out there in that. Well, I wasn't interested in the school part, so I didn't do much. But in university, I didn't go into it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And maybe I would have decided after the first 2 years, because the first 2 years you're just taking like arts classes as they call them, which is the basic, history, geography, math, stuff like that. Just the basic stuff you need for everything, the core competency courses. I did go to community college once I turned 20, and that's when I took automotive technology, and it was a 10-month course, and it allowed me to earn my first level apprenticeship towards the 4-year program. After which, a few years later, it worked good, because that's what got me on pulling wrenches for the phone company here in their garage for years before I moved up into management. I wish I had taken racing more seriously when I was younger. When I wanted to go racing, I thought I wanted to start with go-karts, but I had been model railroading from the time I was 12 or 13. I had to decide, do I want to model railroad or do I want to race? I couldn't put the model railroad aside and go racing. I would have had to sell it all off, which to me didn't make sense, so I didn't get into go-kart racing. And then, once I got a little older, I did build a dirt track race car, but until the car's ready, you don't have sponsors. And without sponsors, you don't get money. And I didn't have a lot of money, so I was building it on a 2-year plan. I built the car. The car was a 1967 Camaro that I stripped down, and my best friend's dad was a welder, so he came and welded the cage together for me. And I got everything ready, and redid brakes and all sorts of stuff, and it, cost a fair amount of money, and I wasn't making a lot at the time. And when the car was ready, or just about ready, the next year's budget went into the engine, and I built Thumper, which a couple of videos ago you saw Thumper going away on a trailer. I gave it away for free to my fiercest ice racing rival, who's going to put it in a rat rod. When I built the engine, I had it all ready to go, put in the car, and I was ready for the next season. And they changed the rules that the engine I built would have been illegal, because it was for a hobby stock race car, and they decided to go to a bone stock engine, and you had to go with an automatic transmission, which was fine, and I could only find a turbo 350. I was looking for a power glide, but they were just not around in my budget range. So the engine was illegal, so I put it aside, and I realized I couldn't afford to build another engine. So if I broke anything racing, I would have been done for the year, or if I had one wreck. So I got disheartened, and my dad wouldn't let me leave the car in the garage to work on it. So every time I was done working on it, I had to put, if I had the wheels off, I had to put the wheels on, get it back on the wheels, roll it out into the backyard, or actually onto our patio. And plus in my 20s, when Amber and I were dating, when we first got married, we were racing 4x4s. So, but when I get back to the question, what's the one thing I did not do, I wish I did? I would have to say it would be getting my pilot's license. I've always been fascinated with airplanes and space and cars and things like that. And I flew model airplanes as a kid, a teenager, control line airplanes. So I decided, no, I didn't want to spend money on that at the time. So there you go, Mike. I hope that answers your 3 questions, and really good ones. And that actually the last one there, the pilot license is only one of a few other things that I could come up with. I can't think of the other ones right now, but that was the one that really stuck out. For there might be a couple more that I just can't remember at this time. So hope that answered your question, bud, and I appreciate it. And thanks for starting things off on the Q&A. Next person that replied, his YouTube channel is called Datsun Tech, but he doesn't post videos. He's actually a friend of mine from the Datsun Club, Brock. And his question was basically asking about my cars. He said he had a couple questions for me. What happened to all your Datsuns? I noticed on your videos that some went to new homes. Did you keep a few? Which ones? And he knew what I had, so he asked about my Roadsters, my B210, my 510s, my 240SX. Then he finished saying that ought to take a couple of minutes. First, I'll mention the ones that just, the white 510 four-door I have, Missy, the one that I was driving a few years ago, needs work. It's been sitting for a couple of years. It's drivable and licensed, but I got to replace some floor, which actually my son AJ is doing for me. The transmission needs an overhaul because I didn't have second gear in it. It's an automatic transmission. I would have preferred a standard when I bought it, but I jumped at the automatic, and it was okay, and I still like it. It just doesn't get as much power to the ground as the standards do. So that one is out at AJ's place. It also needs needs a door because the passenger side front door, it was a Bondo door from its when it was restored back in 1985. The rust built up behind it and pieces flaked off, so it needed a passenger side front door. On my second Datsun four-door, the mustard yellow one, or the yellow one, orangey yellow. So AJ swapped that door over, and we started stripping that car down. It had a factory AM radio that I sold. But I'm going to take the instruments out, and the seats aren't worth anything because they're rotted. I'm going to take the glass door regulators or window regulators. If the doors are good, I'll keep them. I'd like to cut the rear quarters off and replace the ones on Daisy that were fabricated, and so they're not as good as what the factory would be. Whether I ever get around to that, I don't know. And as soon as that one is stripped, motor, transmission, stuff like that, it'll be scrapped. Because there's not going to be much left of it anyway. The 240SX that I had, the 1992 240, I sold that to a drifter who is going to use parts off of it, so it's basically going to get stripped, and he's going to use parts for his drift car. The 510 two-door, one of the 510 two-doors, the one on the rotisserie, I sold to a guy in the Winnipeg Sports Car Club, and he's going to do a full restoration on it. He might even turn it into a race car for all I know. The other two-door that had the rebuilt engine and the peanut head dual carbs was donated to an anonymous person. The B210 was given away to someone that would use it. And two Roadsters and the two 1600 Roadsters and the 2000 Roadster chassis were also all given away to someone that is going to work on them, who I'm not going to mention, but I basically gave most of the stuff away. I sold a bunch of parts to the guy that bought the rotisserie car. I gave him as many parts as we could find that he needed to put the car together, but I don't think that he has everything, and I told him if you let me know while I still have parts left, he could come and dig through. But then I've also sold parts off through Kijiji and other ways. Some of them went out of the country, some of them went out of the province. And the rest of the parts I had, I still have a few left, but I just haven't moved them yet because of the weather. Winter caught up to me before I got it done. My parts shed was completely emptied out, and so much that we actually, because it was rotting, we disassembled it and took the parts shed to the landfill. Parts that were in the garage and the cupboards I had were all compiled. So the performance stuff I had, I sold my dual Weber 40 ECOE carbs to a young guy as a nice little Datsun, and I sold some other carbs and manifolds to another guy, a steering column and instrument bezel to a guy in Ontario. Well, I'm not going to give this stuff away. I gave enough away to people that, you know, well, I've given enough stuff away. So basically the only Datsun / Nissan left in either of my 2 yards is Seymour, our motorhome. Everything else is gone. And the stuff that I got a few parts left in the garage that I'm going to haul away, and some of the parts, Brad made several runs with scrap metal for me, and some of the parts, shape, I just threw them in the trailer and in his truck, and he hauled them away and got some scrap metal. So basically, other than Seymour, Datsuns are out of my life, other than the die-cast cars and stuff that I have. So it's all gone. Hope that answers your question, Brock. Got a little long-winded about it, but that's trying to be the way I am. So this is getting a bit long, so I'm going to continue with a part 2 to get to the other ones. And take it easy. Catch you on the next one.